So I know it's been a little while. Life has been crazy to say the very least. The very, very, very least. And it seemed fitting that after a hiatus of insanity, I returned for something just so utterly absurd, so insane in a bad way that yeah. Let's just cut to the quick. Episode 1 and 2 of Amazon's Rings of Power is not good. It is simply terrible. And not in the way that I thought. Not in the way that I thought. So first and foremost, I did not give Amazon the view. So part of the reason why it took so long was because well, sometimes tactically acquiring something, it's not always the best quality. We'll go ahead and say it. Sometimes when you don't get it straight from the source, it's not your friend. Sometimes there's lags, sometimes there's blips, sometimes it skips, and so you have to rewind and start again. So I'm about about 40 minutes, about 35, 40 minutes behind, so I do apologize. Don't watch this. It if there if there was a word to describe what I just witnessed, it would have to be not even chaotic. Chaotic is not chaotic isn't even the word I would use. Gosh, I think the best word to use would be unfocused, insulting, and quite frankly, even if this wasn't a Lord of the Rings attempt property, it would still be bad. Like, so we've not gotten to Gondorian Gladriel yet. We are not there yet. But oh god. Guys. It's so bad. Oh, sorry. Numenorian Galadriel, not Gondorian. Obviously, she wouldn't be Gondorian. I mean, who knows at this point? This is still the most poorly designed helmet I have ever witnessed. Ever. Because all that's going to do is catch blades that would have missed, like blows that would have missed, and pull them towards her head, and she's dead. No, Lady Fossilette, I would not say that it's even beautifully rendered because, and here is why. Hello, Legionist, and hi, everybody. Sorry, since I'm running late, I just sort of got right into it. I know that's not typically what I do, but I'm being here. Let me show you. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can find it. Because if something is beautifully rendered, so like everybody's like, oh, it's beautifully shot, it's wonderfully made, like it's gonna be fantastic. It's so impressive to look at. Okay, when you make that claim, this cannot happen. Like, look at how bad that is. Yeah, no, I have my books up in the corner and whatnot. Like, look at this is on a 65-inch screen, by the way. Like, They don't even look like they're the depth, the perception is off. They don't even look like they're looking at each other, let alone in the same scene. So to say that this is beautifully rendered is a fallacy. It really is, because here Renee tried to fix it. Here we go. Renee tried to fix it and it's still off. Like, he brought them a little bit closer because he had to. So basically, what he did from the original shot, all he really did was like push him. He had to push him back and bring him closer so that it looked like they were actually like attempting some sort of any bit. And then he's like, and it's still a bit off. Like, even after he tried to adjust it, it's still a bit off. Also, her foot. Like, these are the things that you cannot overlook. The details are simply not there. The care for details, it's not there. It is not there. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, she's only got 4 toes. She's only got 4 toes. I mean, be like, oh, you're nitpicking. $1 billion, folks. $1 billion. I am going to nitpick the ever-loving bejesus out of this because it's $1 billion. It is $1 billion, and they are the future of Amazon Studios is riding on this thing. So, no, we have, oh, Queen Regent. All right. I can't believe it's Elendil. Also, elves with short hair doesn't work. It 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 doesn't work. I'll say it one more time. Elves with short hair does not work in Tolkien's universe. It simply does not work at all. Also, I don't understand. I kind of live tweeted this as I was watching it, but I don't understand the obsession. They roll. It's not just Gladriel. It's not just her that they roll the R. It is everything. Celebrimbor. Like, it's so bad. Celebrimbor. I'm like, why are we rolling our R's? What is going on? Sauron. Again, with the R roll. Like, everything has an R roll. I don't know if they had to do that to make it 20% different, 10% different, something. I'm not sure. But we are not like, there should be like 3 extra R's here, and there should be like 10 extra R's here. And even Elrond, who should be really easy to say, my lord Elrond. Like, no, quit rolling your R's. This is not Espanol. I wonder what it sounds like in Spanish, actually, because they do roll their R's in Spanish. So, like, does it just sound does it just sound ridiculous in Spanish? I wonder, with like excessive amounts of R rolling. I don't know. I'm not gonna watch this in Spanish. All right, I tactically acquired this in English. Okay. Oh my good heavenly God, deliver us and bring us peace in our day, because we're not gonna get it from this show. Oh my. So they're trying to make Nori Frodo, and they're trying to make Poppy Sam. So she's heavier set, right? And I don't know if that's the costume, a fat suit, if she's just a bigger build, if it's the, like, I have no idea if she, like, what her size is. And yet, and they're trying to play her off as like the silly, clumsy, fat friend, fat sister, right? Like, it's just, it's so bad. Literally, her character intro, she gets stuck in a fence. Nori has to come over and pull her out, and then she lands face first in the mud. That is literally how it works. That is her, that's her character intro. That is Poppy's character intro. That's how we meet her. It's just utterly ridiculous. Now, I tweeted this out as well. Hobbits are not nasty and filthy. I mean, even the poorest hobbit whilst maybe their home is not quite as luxurious, it's not as well furnished, they're still not filthy. They're still not filthy. They're not. They are simply not. Even the poorest hobbit is not filthy. And yet these Harfoots, which we know are a type of hobbit, and so these would be ancestors, and this still makes absolutely no sense, by the way. No idea why he has an orc arrow in his cloak. But anyway, like they're so greasy and they're so dirty. Like filthy. Filth. They are covered in filth. It's utterly ridiculous. This show is utterly ridiculous. It's such an insult. There are a few scenes, and very few scenes where, let me see. No, definitely don't want to sell any merch. Here we go. Southlanders. I'm just saying, we've met a few other Southlanders, but apparently he's the only three that matter. His blood can manifest necromancer blades. Because, of course, at this point, like, right, because we're getting to the Hobbit, where they're like, the necromancer. Like, somehow, for some reason, they have a broken blade bearing Sauron's mark. And this other kid pricks his finger, and the sigil on the blade on the blade glows red, right? And this is just some random kid in the village. Well, Theo over here gets himself cut up by Orc Scissorhand. I'm not even joking. And his blood gets like pulled to the blade. Like it's attracted to the blade. And then the blade starts to grow from its shattered spot, right? So the blood starts to mix with the blade, and the blade starts to, like, a shadow starts to appear in the form of a blade. I am not entirely certain. I don't know if they're trying to say that he is going to be. See, but that would only work if he's Arendel's, like, essentially what I'm getting at is if he's supposed to be the Witch King of Angmar, which would be absolutely asinine, but this is that, yeah, like that's what I'm saying. It's like he's part Lich King. I don't know what they were thinking here at all, because that isn't how those blades work, for starters. And this is what the problem is with condensing 4,000 years, essentially. Maybe, okay, 3,000. I'll give you 3,000. We're condensing that down into a decade and a half, maybe. And events that should never, like, events that needed to happen hundreds of years previously are now happening simultaneously with other events that it doesn't make any sense, because you would need this event to happen to cause this catastrophe that led to this heroicism that leads to this, like, the Arkenstone, oh, there's so many member berries. The Arkenstone makes an appearance, but Doran is not king yet. Arkenstone, and I don't know if that's because they just want to, like, oh, what is it? Is it the Arkenstone? Like, I'm not sure. What could it be? Like, yeah, no, it definitely is. But I wonder if they can't show it to you because Warner Brothers was like, no, you can't do that. Apparently, they've edited these 2 episodes quite a bit. Because from my understanding, each episode was supposed to be 90 minutes, and they both turned out to be around 65. So that's about 25 minutes of footage that we never saw or will never see. Allegedly. But so this is Theo, and he's supposed to be this like innocent son. And this is supposed to be his mother. And I'm not entirely sure. Okay, so look at her eyes. Look at Deese's eyes. Where'd you go? We haven't even gotten to her yet. And they didn't do it to her eyes, but they did do it to Poppy's. I'm not sure what this obsession is of trying to make the brown eyes look red. I don't understand. Like, that looks orange. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's like they were trying to go for like molten amber. It didn't work. And again, everybody's like, "Oh my god, you're nitpick." No. Again, $1 billion. $1 billion, and this is what they come up with. So we have that going on, right? And then to top it off, oh Lord have mercy. In the very first episode, I don't even think we were 3 minutes in, and Gladriel climbs the ice sheet. She's 200 feet in front of all of her male soldiers. She's the commanding general. She's in charge of all of them, and she's 200 feet above them. And as I pointed out to Lofty, who said, well, she was described as equally athletic, like Tolkien described her as athletic and on par with the males. Yes, on par does not equate to 200 feet ahead of you on a sheer ice wall. That's not how athleticism, physicality works when you're on par. Surprisingly, let me see. How can I put this? He hasn't really done anything yet except jump into a hole and crawl through a tunnel and then not clear an obvious hiding space behind him because he's too busy looking at the bubbles coming up from the water. They've not given him a lot of dialogue, which I thought was interesting. Because I think if I timed it down, out of the 130 minutes or so between the two episodes, I think he's only got like 4 minutes of dialogue. That's it. There's actually not a whole lot of dialogue. Not a lot happens in these first two episodes. Gladriel talks us through with that scene where they find Sauron's chamber where all the orcs fled to, and she's like, Sauron escaped, and they're like, this has been lost to time. But then she pours water on the table, and even though it is the hand that cannot be quenched, somehow the water freezes around the sigil. I have no idea. I feel like Amazon tried to be way smarter than they actually are. Essentially, we've got her outfit. Oh, that's what I need to show you. Do not tell me. You cannot tell me that this... Oh, my word. Hold up. Wait a minute. I've got to find it. Her dress, Bronwyn's dress, I'm going to show you the side by side, and you tell me if this is not a leftover, I think is how I'm going to, like, oh, we have some scraps of fabric. Here you go. You can have your own costume. You tell me that doesn't look like someone didn't just chop off, like, take the scraps from her cape and, like, tie it around Bronwyn. I mean, honest to God. It's the same shade of blue and everything. I just oh god, it's a freaking travesty. Like, how are you gonna spend $1 billion? $1 billion on this and have it look like people are afterthoughts. There's what I'm looking for. Afterthoughts. It's honestly, this is so I told so Gary tweeted something out earlier and he was like Amazon effed up Lord of the Rings. And I'm like, "No, Amazon effed up their shot at Lord of the Rings." And that's true because if you think about it, I mean nobody talks about the animated Lord of the Rings films except in very like n- seldom in a good way. Seldom in a good way. And it's usually along the lines of the animation style isn't great, but the animation itself is obviously very skilled. But you don't I don't know. I just don't know. Um I mean, I am still not a fan of the Hobbit films. I think they are bloated and egregious, especially Tariel. And I love Our Lady Tariel, who sometimes comes on this channel and I stream with her on other channels. I love her to pieces. But Tariel and Keely's relationship especially was pretty much unforgivable. Um and I will say that there were some CGI moments in The Hobbit that do not hold up. The barrels in the river scene particularly does not hold up well. That looks like friggin' Shakespeare compared to whatever Amazon just pulled out of their keister. I am not even joking. This is so vile and low effort. $1 billion. And it's low effort. There's no passion from the cast. Their heart is not in it. There's you can tell that they don't care. They don't care. Like, okay, perfect example. Hold on, I'm going to stop sharing really quick so that I don't because I'm going to go into the episode really fast. It's in the first few I hope you guys couldn't hear that. It's in the first few minutes. Oh, by the way, Kid Gladriel tackles another child elf for sinking her boat. Yes, she indeed does get bullied. They condensed like 2,000 years of history between the time of the trees and Morgoth and everything like that. Yeah, they condensed that into 6.5 minutes. 6.5 minutes. Okay, so let me see. I have to be on the Amazon one for this because the pirate site moved. The not the I was watching a pirate on YouTube. I was not on a pirate site. Actually, well, I was buying eye patches. Yeah, we'll roll with that. Cool. So, oh, here's the member berry. Hold up. Let's see. Let me get there. Here we go. Here's a member berry, and you should all love it now. And of course, Amazon's not going to let me show it. Ah, you pricks. You pricks. Hold up. You're right. I'm sorry. Morgoth. Oh, it's utterly ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. Okay, I'm gonna have oh gosh, I'm gonna have to get sneaky with this stuff. All right. No, that's not what I want. There we go. Are you serious, Amazon? Okay, so Amazon doesn't want me to share screenshots. I can't. I don't know. Okay, it's a picture of Sauron. I can take a picture. I can do this. Let me see. All right, because like the member berries are so freaking strong. It's actually a bit insane. I'm not even really sure how else to say it other than it's so bad, guys. They simply were like, "Hey, let's just throw anything and everything at it that we ever possibly could and see what sticks," right? Okay, so you're going to come over here. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do that. Okay, so oh man, there we go. Okay, here's member berry number 1. You guys ready? Boom. This is like a 2-second clip, but I mean, get excited because hey, you recognize that guy, right? I mean, clearly you have to know who that is. So insane. Like, I actually couldn't believe that they put that in there. And then Gladriel. I wish with every fiber of my being that this show didn't exist. Because here they are in the north, guys. They're in the north. Keep this in mind. Okay? It is very cold up there where they are at. Oh no. Hang on, guys. Bear with me. Okay, so here we go. Right? And nope, that's not going to come up. Okay, so I'm going to show you 2 pictures here in just a sec. Sorry, I know this is taking a while because we have to circumvent Amazon's whatever. So her captain, I guess, would be who you would consider it. Is like, maybe we should turn back. Maybe we should turn, like, it's cold. Maybe we should. So here's the first one, right? Okay. They're frostbitten. They're cold. All right. Because they're not Legolas, apparently. So they're like, maybe we should turn back. And she's like, we go on. We're burning daylight. This is their answer for the cold, guys. I tweeted this out too. Chainmail does not do anything. Chainmail doesn't do anything against the cold. Chainmail doesn't do anything against the cold. It will, in fact, make it worse. It's metal. I don't care what species you are. Metal is going to freeze to your skin. It is going to cause hypothermia faster. But no, let's just throw a metal hood over ourselves and call it a day. That's literally her answer for the cold. This is where we're at. Also, It looks terrible. Like, it's frayed, it's unkempt. This is not the mark of a warrior. Something that is common knowledge for any soldier, warrior, marine, whomever you want to call it. You always take care of your gear, because if you don't, you are a genius, Perry Chan. I love you. Thank you. And hi, Perry. Thanks for coming. But anyway, you can't let your gear deteriorate like this. They get into a fight with a mountain troll literally in like 3 minutes after this, okay? So they're frostbitten, they're exhausted. She, at this point, a guy, one of her company trips, and she's like, and they're like, Gladriel, stop. And she's like, no, we go on. And it's like, and they're like, Gladriel. And I'm like, you haven't even walked like 10 paces. And they're like, oh, they go back and they get her. Okay. Because she was forced to. And then here's the other problem. You're supposed to believe from this point, the way that she is written, whether this was intended or not, and I have no doubt it was intended, that she is obsessed with this quest because it claimed her brother's life. So it claimed her brother's life. He never got to defeat Sauron, right? He still believed that he was out there. And so for centuries, she has been hunting Sauron. Centuries, guys. Keep that in mind as we carry this forward, as we talk about this, because I'm about to show you another picture in just a second. And I am telling you right now, there is no way on earth, that, oh, and of course, I can't. Okay, I will use Mozilla next time. Thank you, Perry Chan. You are a saint. Yes, I have just sainted you. But this next clip, understand this. Outside of her armor being devastatingly unkempt, which is terrible for battle. Again, she gets into a fight with a cave troll moments after that picture that was just up on my screen. Enjoy my waterfall, guys. There's a ton of waterfalls in Trop, by the way, so I'm probably gonna have to change my background because, now I've got, I don't know, and now it triggers me or something. Not really. Never. I'm not gonna change my background because of those heathens. I will not let them sway me so. But this woman, this elven woman, this has been her quest for centuries, guys. Centuries. Hunting Sauron. She could sense the evil in the air when they were up north at the orc lab, whatever you want to call it, like whatever they were doing to basically, I'm assuming, trying to make Uruk-hai or something of that nature. Whatever Sauron was doing to taint his orcs, right? She goes through all that. She can sense it in the air. She pours water onto the table because she just knows that there's something there. Sauron literally grabs her arm and nothing happens. Nothing. And he grabs her twice. Twice. 2 times. 2 times. She is grabbed. She's grabbed twice. And at no point does anything happen. There's no sparks, there's no electricity, there's no warning, anything like that. It's, yeah, oh, Sharon C., it's Finrod. They killed Finrod. Yeah, to not even talk about the actual lore that they are utterly trampling, and the character, I mean, Celeborn, like, he's gone. He's just gone. He's not there. They're doing something really creepy with, like, so Halbrand and if there was a ship any more obvious, I have not seen it. I am dead serious. That's how absolutely, utterly apparent this is. And this broke, like, the show was already horrific because outside of it trashing lore, it's destroyed Harfoots. They are greasy, dirty, filthy, and and there was a Irish review that said just how insulting it was to the Irish people because the accents that they're using and the way that their mannerisms, the way they're carrying themselves, all of those things. Yeah, just nope. Like, oh man, like I put somewhere on Twitter, I was like, oh my god, that Irish review makes so much more sense now, because it does. Like the insult that they are throwing to the Irish people with that is just mind blowing. It's truly mind blowing how they could be so insulting of an entire people unironically. Like, this wasn't for humor points. They think that they're actually doing a good thing. They actually think that they are doing a good thing. And nope, it's more of the same. It's like someone who got drunk on St. Patrick's Day and tried to do an Irish accent. And then people said, well, you're not really Irish. And they're like, of course I am. And then they just stuck with that terrible accent. That is literally where we have been delivered to. It's so repulsive that they would even come close to attempting to claim that this has anything to do with Tolkien's work or even the Jackson trilogy. And let's not forget, yes, this came out on September 1st in America. This came out on September 2nd in the UK, which is where Tolkien is from. And that is what matters. September 2nd is the day that Professor Tolkien died. They didn't do that on accident. That wasn't a mistake. That wasn't an oversight. They did that on purpose. They did that purposefully. And to attempt to, this is a grift. This show is a grift. It is attempting to sell a product using the credentials, talent, and established reputation of an existing property. Namely, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the books themselves, Professor Tolkien's work, and the Jackson trilogy, and the massive success that it found. They are trying to grift off of that success. And to kind of put this in perspective for you guys, you have to understand something. Amazon is a $1 trillion company. Do they report that? No, of course not. Well, how can you make such a claim? Because when a company says certain things, now granted, they might not have trillions of dollars in liquid, of course, but between their capital, their revenue, the actual products that they move, stuff like that, you could argue into the trillions. And not be too far off. I'm not going to go into another business lesson because I already went through cash cows, shooting stars, dogs, and then of course like the unknowns. So when we talk about marketing, for example, they definitely had a specific amount for marketing. So I took this screenshot yesterday, I think. All right, you have to understand, this is a promoted tweet. I don't know if you guys can really see that. This is a promoted tweet from Lord of the Rings on Prime and Prime Video. Two massive accounts. Between the two of them, I think they have like here, let's see. I don't want to misquote and then have someone come out and be like, "Oh, well, if you're going to nitpick this, if you're going to nitpick Amazon, then you should at least get the Twitter follower amounts correct." And you know what? That's a fair criticism because it's one that I would make, right? So, if we're going to hold other people to certain standards, then we should hold ourselves. Okay. Right? No double standards, or at least try to not invoke them. Okay, so 467,400, we'll round up. 468, yeah, they're 5 away from 468,000. 468,000, right? For Lord of the Rings on Prime. And let's see, who is the other one? Prime Video. So on Prime Video has 2.7 million followers. 2.7 million. So you add that to our previous, I don't even like 2.7 million. My mind kind of blew. What was it? 468,000. So you're at over 3 million. You're at over 3 million followers between the two accounts. Over 3 million followers. It has 18.6 million views and only 41.8 thousand likes. Now, I am a fan of math because it is objective. You cannot, like, if I screw with these numbers, someone can call me out on it. Like, you can easily call me out on it. 41.8 thousand likes is 0.0022473,118 of viewers liking that trailer. So if we wanted to do percentage, we'd move this over 2, right? Because that's the trick. So this would be the decimal. 0.22% of people liked this tweet with the trailer. 0.2, like, we're talking like, we're not even at 1%. We're not even at 1% of people liking this tweet. That is not, I said it right here, not the numbers you expect for $1 billion show that has the amount of marketing going for them, especially not a promoted tweet. That means that they paid money to push this out there. Guys, this thing is dead. There's no excitement, there's no anything, and I could not be happier that this amount of backlash is being seen because, quite frankly, Amazon deserved it. They knew that they had a stink on their hands, and they went ahead anyway. And they pushed off giving us a trailer, and they pushed off giving us any form or fashion of clips or behind the scenes. Meanwhile, Peter Jackson was showing us behind the scenes a year and some change before Fellowship ever came out. So they can't even claim subversion of expectations because they have been pushing that $1 billion tag, whether it's true or not. They've been pushing that $1 billion price tag for months. Purportedly the most expensive show ever made. How Rings of Power became the most expensive show Amazon has ever endeavored to make. Okay, well, they should have just not made it. But this thing is locked in for 5 seasons. More than one person has told me that. This is going to get a 5th season. But it's dead. There's no vitality, there's no longevity, there's no nothing. It's there's nothing here for them. They can't. I mean, the way they ended episode 1 is literally Man in Comet, who is most likely Gandalf because he was talking to fireflies and he was whispering to them like he did the moth when he was trapped to go ask the eagles if they would retrieve him. Oh, by the way, we see the eagles die in the first like 2 minutes of episode 1. Oh, member berries, there's the eagles. Oh, look, they died. That's why they couldn't fly all the way to Mount Doom. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, didn't need that answer. Already knew that. Like, anybody who tries to use that as an argument of, well, why didn't the eagles just carry them all the way there? Probably because we already know that their numbers were decimated. They were almost entirely wiped out during the War of the Ring. I mean, just saying. The last alliance of men and elves. It's the last alliance of men and elves for a reason. Like, they were it. That was it. If that had failed, there was nobody left. Okay? So, didn't need that. Already knew that that was a thing. And I'm not sure why they feel that their characters need to narrate what is happening on the screen as it is happening. Like, I can see, I have eyes. You're supposed to act. You're supposed to, like, pull me into the scene. I don't need you to give me a play-by-play of what I am currently watching. This is not instant replay on NFL Sunday Ticket. I don't. That's not what I'm here for at all, in any way, shape, or form. And yet, they continue to shove that crap down my throat. Now, getting on with, like, they really just recycled the ever-loving bejesus out of Wheel of Time. So here, I want to know how they said it. It was like, they rolled the R again, but it was in such a weird fashion. Like, the way that they rolled the R. It was like Erigian. I can't do it. Like, they had to practice this one with that R roll because it was weird. Like, even hearing it as someone who has done languages and stuff, I was like, whoa, that was off. Okay, but so here's the realm of the Elven Smiths, right? That is from Wheel of Time. Now, granted, it's not Amazon's Wheel of Time. That is a sketch. One of the official sketches. And I'm just saying. This is embarrassing. Also, this looks fake. This looks so incredibly fake. I don't know like how. Guys, go watch the trilogy. Please go watch the trilogy. Please go watch the Peter Jackson trilogy of The Lord of the Rings, extended edition, of course. And you tell me which one looks better. The carving into stone, all right? Like the distant shot. Okay? So this is modern day, right? Carving into stone. This is 20 years ago, Minas Tirith. I mean, it's not even a competition. Like, that's actually literally embarrassing. I don't understand. I don't understand how you have that much money at your disposal. I don't understand how you have that much money at your disposal and you don't pour your heart and soul into the project. It doesn't make any sense. Why are you even there? Legitimately, who wrote this and why are you there? Something else, guys. This is a common theme that I saw it through the entirety of both episodes, but this shot in particular, I think, nailed it really well. It literally looks like they just copy and pasted. I have seen high school productions of A Midsummer Night's Dream look better. This is insane. These plants are clearly fake. Like, they look plastic from a distance. They look plastic from a distance. And then it's literally just like the ferns, they're in the exact same order. We'll be like, oh, well, it's Elvish. Of course it's going to be. That's not how Elvish anything works. It is not a copy and paste. It's a part of nature. The one thing that I will say that they did get fairly accurate, that they did fairly well on, is you can't really see from this angle, but they have likenesses of fallen Elvish heroes carved into the trees. I'll give them that. Those looked pretty good. I don't know who did those, but they should have been put in charge of every other set, because those pieces were, in fact, amazing. I was actually utterly impressed. They don't care, Sam. They do not care. They don't care. In case you're wondering, Sam. In case you're wondering. They don't care. Like, they really, really could not give two hoots and a holler. And this is where Elrond gives Gladriel his word that she can go to the Undying Lands. And if a whisper of the rumor is true, he will pursue it himself, right? Okay, so he's giving her his word. She still jumps off the boat because his word isn't enough. And of course, about 10 minutes later into the episode, yep, it was a conspiracy. It was a conspiracy. They knew she was right. They know that he's still out there. But it's in her best interest to send her away, because her obsession with the quest is actually going to, in fact, inflame Morgoth and Sauron and the whispers and rumors. Like, Morgoth is a blip in this series. Like, literally, he's just that gone that quick. It's actually insulting. It's, by the way, I think all but 2 of the scenes, and it's because they're Numenorian scenes, I think all but 2 of the scenes from the trailers are from these first 2 episodes. Just an FYI. Essentially, everything we saw in the trailers are in these first 2 episodes, and that has me very concerned. But, yep, the men conspired against Gladriel. She was right. They know she's right, but we have to send her away. Otherwise, she could start stoking... Like, literally, they basically called her a fearmongerer. The Lady of Light, grace, wisdom, modeled after the Holy Mother Mary. Yeah, she's a fearmongerer. Obsessed with a quest for an evil that they know actually exists, but doesn't exist because reasons? I have no idea. It doesn't make any sense. Nothing that anybody does makes any sense. Oh, here we go. Okay, so this was me watching the episode and losing my ever-loving mind. So, oh my god, I already forgot her name. Brownwyn. Theo's hiding in like a tiny little cupboard. She walks in. There's a hole in her floor, and it's clearly like the floorboards have been busted up from underneath. It's not like someone busted down. This is someone or something that busted up. And this woman bends over the hole and shouts down into it. Shouts Theo's name. And then, instead of running to get help, like Theo told her to, because no man can tell her what to do, she hides in the closet. And then she proceeds to breathe like she just ran a marathon. And then an orc with honest-to-God scissor hands starts attacking them. Scrapes Theo, tries to kill her, tries to kill him. She then, so after failing, so they stab it in the back twice. Theo stabs him with shears. She literally impales him on an orc blade through the back, and he's still going. Kicks, like, smashes her against the wall, and then Theo somehow manages to get a noose around his neck, but then the rope breaks. And then he's going for Theo, and then she slams a decapitated orc head down on the butcher's block. Like, what? And then she's like, anyone who wishes to live. Anyone who wishes to live, we march for the Elven Tower at first light. You just decapitated an orc, and there is a tunnel with unknown beasts under your town. And you're gonna, what is this obsession with waiting until first light? It's midday. You have plenty of light left. Grab your crap and go. Like, literally. Grab some rations, grab a change of clothes, some weapons, your kids, get gone. At this point, you can't even take the livestock because they're all getting infected. It's just utterly ridiculous. This whole show is utterly ridiculous. The writing is poor. Yes, reminder, this is Gladriel. Beautiful, feminine, graceful, wise, and powerful without a sword and shield. Like, honestly, she was feared because of who she is and what she is capable of. But apparently, in this show, Sauron can touch her, and she no longer has the gift of foresight. And neither does Elrond, apparently. Both of them have the gift of foresight. Not only that, but Gladriel can literally see into people's minds. And you're telling me that Halbrand Sauron can just rescue her from drowning, takes her brother's dagger out of her belt to cut her free as she is being pulled underwater after she screamed at him to bind himself to her because she tied herself to the mast, and then of course the mast snapped and it started getting pulled under, and then he's watching the rope go, but then of course he dives in to save her because even though he's pure evil, there's something about her that calls to him to follow the light or something. I have no idea. This is the most disgusting ship I have ever seen, and that's saying a lot considering my timeline has been filled with people who want to ship Frodo and Sam consistently, which is the most bizarre thing ever. Like, Rosie was obviously who Sam loved and had children with, but nope, we don't care about canon. We gotta have our fanfic. Just, I don't even know. Lady Fossilot. We are talking about Gilgalad, right? The same Gilgalad who was the last heir to Beleriand. Yeah, the High King of the Noldor. That Gilgalad, apparently. Yes, no, now he is just a backstabbing snake politician who, doesn't care. Oh, and what's really funny is, so the comet comes out of the sky and crash lands. Gladriel jumps into the ocean, and Gilgalad's tree starts to suffer the same fate as the trees of Valinor. Yeah, no. Samil the Infamous. What's up, Lady G? Oh, I think even Sauron would reject this evilness. Because you guys understand, of course, Gladriel should be married at this point and have children. A daughter, actually. So that Elrond could marry her and become Galadriel's son-in-law. I'm not sure how familiar you are with the family tree, but Elrond is supposed to be Galadriel's son-in-law. And they should well since have had that marriage happen. And Elrond doesn't do anything except belittle Gladriel and then turn around and he and Gilgalad are like, oh, we know she's right, but we can't let a woman do this. And then, while she's swimming in the ocean for hours or days, by the way, like, she's still going. She jumps into the water and then she just keeps swimming. And swimming. And swimming. Even for an elf, that is impressive. All the men were going to just let her stay in the water, but the one woman on the craft pulls her up and is willing to share her rations and stuff. But then the men are like, no, we're not going to give her water until they have answers first. And then some random human dude comes over and flips her hair back. I'm sorry, in what universe could you not tell that Galadriel was the quintessential elf? Her beauty is surpassed by none. Like, this whole show is an insult to anything and everything Tolkien. I will have a much more polished video review out later, but these are just my initial thoughts after the first 2 episodes. Guys, the CGI is cheap. There are characters popping off the screen like I showed you earlier. Khazad-dûm looks okay until you get into like this throne room area. And then Elrond and Durin have a rock smashing battle because Durin is upset with Elrond because Elrond didn't come to his wedding or the birth of his kids. And I'm just sitting here and I'm like, oh my god, the Dwarven and Elven feud is going to be his fault, isn't it? Because you've got them saying, like, it's like, oh, you have too much of a soft spot. You have too much of a soft spot for the elves. And you're like, what? What are you talking about? So, yeah, it's going to be Elrond's fault. The feud between dwarves and elves. And that actually really upsets me because they're not from... Dwarves and elves don't get along for multiple reasons, but to sort of pin all of this on Elrond is just a really cheap thing to do. And we can get into like the history and all of that from like the actual Silmarillion. I don't know if Teresa's still in the chat, but Miss Martin Muses just covered the Silmarillion not too long ago on her channel, on her Saturday morning show. We went through it. I wasn't able to make it for a lot of those, but I mean, if you want, you can listen to that. There's audiobooks of it, but at some point we can go through like the Untold Tales or the Silmarillion and stuff like that. But these are supposed to be based off of appendices from The Return of the King. And even to say that, to me, feels like a bit of a stretch. They've changed the pronunciation of the names. They've changed personalities. They've changed stories. They've inserted characters that have nothing to do with Tolkien's world. It is overall, in my humble opinion, a poorly written and poorly executed show. And it really is that simple. There is lack of effort, lack of passion, lack of care, but also, and most egregiously, lack of respect for a man's life work that literally laid the foundation for all modern fantasy. And we can quibble over semantics and argue that, and you can say, well, Tolkien actually wasn't that, I would say that Robert Jordan is better at world building, or Brandon Sanderson, or, Feist. We can argue about whatever authors we feel maybe surpass Tolkien in one area or another. But the point is, he was a master of multiple areas. And it is because of his work, his passion, and his stories, specifically The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogy, that we have the modern fantasy that we have today. And that is what it boils down to. And that type of accomplishment, that necessity for an entire genre, but also multiple generations to have escapism, is not something that should be spat on or insulted or ignored. Certainly not changed and willfully misinterpreted for someone else's own agenda. And that is why this will fail. This is not a screw up of Lord of the Rings. Like I said, I pointed this out to I pointed this out to Nerdrotic in his when he tweeted it out. I'll see if I can find it really quick, but it is Amazon's screw up. They screwed this up. They're one shot. They're one shot at an interpretation of Tolkien's work and world. And it's really that simple. Here it is. So Gary tweeted out that it's official. Amazon. I liked this. What are you doing to me, Twitter? It's official. Amazon effed up Lord of the Rings. And I was like, Amazon effed up their shot at Lord of the Rings. They could never taint the actual story, let alone touch its greatness. Because it's true. This was their shot at interpreting Lord of the Rings and Tolkien's world and Tolkien's work. And they squabbled it. They squandered, that's the word. Oh man, it's late. They squandered their one chance. And I will actually quote the show itself when I say this. Sometimes the greatest truths are simple. And I would agree with that. Amazon botched their one shot at a Lord of the Rings adaptation, at a Tolkien work adaptation. Because even if you took out the fact, like I said at the beginning, even if you took out the fact that this is supposed to be a Lord of the Rings related IP, the show itself is full of inconsistencies. Like right here, her whole quest for centuries has been to hunt down the evil that took her brother from her, that branded her brother. And you're telling me that evil can touch her twice and she doesn't react to it? Within the show itself, this is perhaps the greatest sin. And even if, like I said, she has the gift of foresight and she has the ability to see into people's minds. So even if he had powerful magic that was putting up these blocks, she would see that. She would see that and know something was wrong. So it was, like I said at the beginning, it was bad. And I anticipated it to be bad, but it was bad in a different way than I was expecting. Because not only did it insult Tolkien and his characters and his work, but it fundamentally insulted the fantasy genre as a whole by simply refusing to live and work within the confines of the universe that it was set in. Critical Drinker and Literature Devil and a few others have made mention of this. I think Mahler's another one. You can make whatever rules you want for a universe, but once you have those rules set, you have to abide by them, or there are no stakes, there's no consistency, and there's no suspension of disbelief. People get pulled out of your story. I mean, that is the long and short of it. And between Morfydd Clark, who is not Cate Blanchett, they started this off with Morfydd Clark talking, like giving a monologue, much like Cate Blanchett, or not much like, but giving a monologue. And they were trying to, I think, like do a member berry or like a recall to, oh, remember when Cate Blanchett did that epic intro for Fellowship? Yeah, Morfydd Clark is not Cate Blanchett. She does not have the gravitas. She does not have, there's nothing ethereal about her voice, the way she's saying it. It's flat. Like when she is delivering her lines for that monologue, it's emotionless, it's void, it's vacant, and it's shallow. Period. So these first two episodes were a travesty. They were insulting to men and women, fantasy, and most importantly, they were an insult to Tolkien and his work. So I do not recommend this. I don't see this surviving. I don't see this being water cooler talk. I do not see this going anywhere except the fiery dumpster of fans' back pockets. And that is probably the kindest way that I can put that. If even if Amazon did a 180 at this point, it wouldn't matter. The damage is already done to their iteration of the IP. And what they have essentially done is same thing with Wheel of Time. Wheel of Time bombed. No matter what they say. Like, do you ever hear anyone talking about it except to make negative comparisons? Or be like, my God, it looks as bad or worse than Wheel of Time. Like, that is an insult. So, it's just... They're attempting to make Tolkien's very direct, and Christopher Tolkien's very direct, very specific, very detailed wishes and words and expressed details. And here's the thing, even if in the letters he was like, oh, I wish I had done this, or I could have written it this way, or I could have done this. The canon is the books. The canon is what is in the books. It's not what's not in the books. So it's just like if you ever went to court and lack of evidence is not evidence. You can't say, well, because she wasn't, because she's not on the video camera, it must mean that she was in the blind spots of the video cameras. No, that's not how that works. Lack of evidence is not evidence. And that is what these people have to realize. You can't claim something is meant to be a certain way when nothing like that exists, which is hilarious because in episode 2, before she puts the decapitated orc head on the butcher block, he literally says, he's like, I've seen landslides do some crazy things worse than a sinkhole, yada, yada, yada. He's like, with no evidence, like, I'm not making everybody move. Like, we're no rush to get back to the elves, and without any proof, I'm not going to make these people move. And yet, Amazon as a whole is trying to tell a story that Tolkien never wrote. It's derivative, it's redundant, it tells instead of shows, and it's insulting to anybody with 2 brain cells or more. So, I cannot recommend you staying away from this any more than I already am. To give you guys kind of heads up, I think episode 3 is supposed to drop a little bit earlier next week. I'm not 100% sure on that. But yes, I plan to do live streams immediately following each episode, to just sort of give my initial review and initial thoughts on it. And then I'll give a more detailed review, more detailed video, a little bit more polished rather, a few days later. Hopefully before the next episode comes out, but we'll see. Like I said, life is kind of crazy. But this show is everything that fantasy should not be. It's dull. It's boring. It's poorly written. It attempts to be clever and comes off as even like childish isn't even the right word. It really does come off as self-righteous. And there are times when they say something or something happens and you're like, they don't even realize what they just said or what they just did right there. Right? Or they're not interpreting it the way a normal person would. So it is an intentional it's an intentional slight against fans. We may as well just put out Taika Waititi's "I'll destroy your mythos in a minute" tweet, because that is how they feel about this. They do not care. They simply do not care. They assume this without any question, without any backlash. And Tolkien fans aren't going to take this sitting down. We watched what happened with and we're fans of a lot of us are fans of the other properties too, but we watched what happened with Star Wars, with Star Trek, with Doctor Who, with Dungeons and Dragons, with Dragonlance, with Wizards of the Coast. Oh my gosh, with so many, even chick flicks nowadays, are awful. They're actually, I had not seen a chick flick in so long. And my sister was like, "Oh, come on, you haven't been, like, we haven't hung out in forever. I haven't seen you in forever. We live so far apart. Like, let's watch this." And it was like an activist feminist wish fulfillment video is probably the best I could come up with that. Like, they've become, it's infected everything, and it's why people are going back to previous properties that already exist. And that's what I wholeheartedly encourage you to do. Go watch Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy extended edition. It's Labor Day weekend this weekend. Long weekend for most people. Go enjoy it. Go have fun. Go and have some escapism, because God knows we need it. God knows we need it. Hello, Lady Fossilot. Thank you so much for being so active in the chat tonight. You were incredible. You're beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Lady Gravemaster, for taking up this task. Well, I'm here for you. I, like I said, tactically acquired it because I didn't feel like giving them the views, but then I clicked on it anyway because my tactically acquired location moved, as it were, as they do. So they can't get found. But I really do appreciate every single one of you. I hope that you go watch something you love, namely the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings trilogy. I'm going to keep repeating that until I'm blue in the face probably. And like I said, with the Hobbit trilogy, I don't think that this is going to make the Hobbit trilogy better. But I do think that more people are going to give it a bit of grace because for all of its fault and all of its folly, it never tried it never tried to insult Tolkien. Granted, I think that the addition of Toriel, this is my own personal opinion, I think the addition of Toriel was a desecration of The Hobbit itself, and I don't think it needed 3 films to do it. But if I had to choose between watching the Hobbit trilogy and watching this, it would be the Hobbit trilogy without a doubt. There is something truly sad about people who allow bitterness and jealousy and vitriol to harden their hearts, especially when they haven't even seen the worst parts of humanity or the world. Because if you cannot appreciate beauty, if it cannot inspire you to greatness, then are you even alive? Like, if your soul can't sing, what can you do? Honestly. If you can't read Tolkien or Jordan or even Feist or Sanderson or oh my god, so many. Douglas, Twain, Tolkien. I can't even I mean, if you can't read all of those authors and their works, um what then is even the point if you don't see the beauty of what they were trying to do? I mean, C.S. Lewis didn't write the Chronicles of Narnia to be despondent. Feist, even for as dark as he is, there's still a beautiful story being told in his books. Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time, as long and as thick as it is a true work of genius. And it was finished off by Sanderson, who also, Way of Kings is just incredible. The Mistborn series is fantastic. The King Killer Chronicles are amazing. But then if we go back even further, you've got Homer with the Odyssey. That's got to be one of the most insane and inspiring stories that survived thousands of years. I mean, and then you think of some more modern authors. You've got Anne McCaffrey and you've got Steven Erikson. Oh gosh, T.H. White, and of course, Margaret Weiss, the Dragonlance books. I gotta love it. Oh god, who else? Gosh, who wrote Peter Pan? Barry. You've got Pierce Anthony, you have Anne Rice, Tad Williams, the Dragonbone share. Like, there's so much out there to love, and you have so much to discover. I'm only listing off like a handful. There are so many wonderful authors out there for people to explore and experience and fall in love with and be inspired by. But rather than be jealous of what they have and demanding that their work be torn down because you can't achieve that type of greatness, it should inspire you to try and find something that you are equally as passionate about and then can inspire people with your passion and your ability and your dedication. There's so much out there to love. So I don't understand this fascination with nihilism and desecration and insult. Yes, of course, the Myosphere Origins, all the indie writers in the fandom, like him and others. Guys, I really hope that this weekend you watch something you love, something that inspires you, and that you have fun. I don't recommend Rings of Power at all. I think you should avoid it at all cost. And I think the kindest thing that I could offer to you probably would to simply let Tolkien, his own words, that he wrote Elborn, to sort of, hang on, kind of sink in. Let me see if I can find it. Nope, that's not it. Let's see. Hang on. Sorry, guys. I was trying to pull this up, but I'm now having trouble finding it, of course. I don't know where it went. Shoot. But oh gosh, see, I was about to give up and there it is. All right. So I personally would just encourage everybody to follow that advice. Do not despise the lore that has come down from distant ears, for oft it may chance that old wives keep in memory word of things that once were needful for the wise to know. I don't think that you should dismiss the past because you find it silly or irrelevant, or you think that you've somehow outgrown it or are better than it, because it's usually when you think that you are too big to fail that you fall hardest. But with that, I will let you all have a wonderful night, day, morning, evening, wherever it is you are in the world. I thank you so much for stopping by and listening to my perspective and my point of view. Like I said, I will have a more polished review out later, hopefully before the next episode airs. And I truly, truly appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for your patience with me. I know, like I said, I've been gone for a spell. There's been a lot going on in real life. So I genuinely appreciate every single one of you. Much love to all of you. You're all incredible. God bless and Godspeed.